Hello guys and welcome back. This is Mr. Siege, and today I'll be trying to prove that Siege can be useful to your allies, not just for getting loads and loads of kill points, but for actually supporting your teammates on the field, supplying lots of defensive debuffs and health debuff if you've got a dagger like I have. Now, obviously I know that it's helping in the field, but the hard thing is actually trying to prove it. And this test is the best I could come up with, but whether it proves it or not, I do not know. So I'm not trying to do a lot of damage, as you'll see in the video. I'm trying just to support and provide debuffs to the enemy and seeing the outcome. As you're able to see, I'm going to use Margaret and Garjamada because that's a double debuff. Margaret's going to use a really weak set, the Harvester set. I don't want to get loads of kills, and I might have to switch him over. Garjamada's got no equipment. I'm just going to see what the outcome would be and how this affects the reports for Misty in this case. Thank you, Misty, and Shelby, the enemy. So stick around. Hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Thank you very much. So thank you very much to Mr. Shelby and Misty again for helping with this video. So we start off with the control part of the test. I've asked them to ball up next to each other, a 5v5, full equipment, full armaments. You're focusing on the same march each time in the same order to try and make this test as accurate as possible. But it's extremely hard because obviously a lot of these marches have got horns on, they've got rings on. And as you know, the percentage of chances of things actually firing off can vary from battle to battle, and it can make actually a huge difference. So take what you can from this video. I don't really know how I could make the test any fairer. I guess everyone could have no equipment, but I actually wanted these marches to be a lot stronger than my debuff march, so that debuff wouldn't have too much of effect on the result in terms of me causing high damage to the enemy, because we already know that siege and engineering marches do a ton of damage. I mean, if I'd put my two strongest marches out here, they would have been completely annihilated. That's obvious. So let's actually talk through the results from this first test. Now, Misty ended up with 164.5k in his hospital, and Shelby ended up with 126.7k, which obviously is a clear win, as we expected. 3v3, I think this would have been a different story, but Misty's last two marches are probably a little bit weaker than Shelby's, so it does make a huge difference. So in this test now, the idea is to do exactly the same. Remember, hitting the same marches in exactly the same order, but this time I'm adding my support march in, which will provide important debuffs to the enemy troops. Now, again, I'm using a full gathering set made out of just animal bones. So I don't want to do a huge amount of damage, but obviously this will be included in the report. Now, obviously range marches do damage fairly slowly. And again, Margaret and Garjamada, they aren't a meta pairing on the field compared to obviously Margaret Cordoba or Cordoba Garjamada or even Baba Garjamada. So this is just to support, and let's see the differences in the result. So I have got no idea obviously how this is going to perform. It's got to be better because at the end of the day, we're still going to be doing some sort of damage to the enemy troops. But again, the test can vary so much. I mean, even the positioning of these troops on the field here. If Guan on Shelby's team ends up in the wrong position and isn't getting the AoE off, even Gorgo Liu Che that's there. Now, AoE makes a massive difference in a murder ball. All these things make a massive, massive difference. In fact, it looked like his troops were in a good position in terms of the enemy here. So this could be a decent test. Now, obviously we can see there's only 2 troops remaining here. There was 3 in the previous test. So already the result seems better, but it's sort of as expected, even with a really, really weak siege march here. So Misty's down to just 1 march now. He's got his Joan left over. I think Joan's actually running with Minamoto, as you can see. It's actually quite a strong pairing. I never really thought about pairing those 2 together, but I don't see why not. And that's about it for the results, because she's about to go now. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of differences this actually makes in terms of Misty's hospital, Shelby's hospital. And we're about to find out now. So I'm just pulling away. I don't need to hit them anymore. I've done my bit now. So let's compare these results and see what's changed, if anything, which I think they will have. It seems like it have. Now let's look at my report first with my gathering set. So obviously traded positive. That's 8,800 to 27,900. But obviously the most important results is how it's affected my teammates. So in the previous battle, Misty had 164.5k in his hospital and Shelby 126.7k. But this time Misty's got 137.6k and Shelby ended up with 118.4k. Now that saved Misty almost 30,000 troops, but it also actually saved Shelby 8,000 troops. But overall, that's a massive result in terms of our side. In terms of percentages, Misty's almost saved 20% troops in terms of being severely wounded in his hospital. And that's a massive amount of resources and speed ups saved just from that 5v5 battle. So if people are calling Siege selfish, which I know many do, look at the results and I think you'll find that your kingdom are going to be pretty appreciative of you saving them resources, as well as you doing a massive amount of damage on the field. Whereas you may not have been doing that before. You may have been doing what I was doing with like, say, Guan Scipio, or maybe you just got a couple of marches in the field, you send them into the middle of a murder ball, they get murdered, and it actually puts you off fighting more. You're filling your hospital ridiculously fast, and then you're actually not supporting your kingdom in a KVK, so you may just give up. I mean, I had times where I was just got so fed up with the battle, with lag, and it just wasn't worth it for me. Sometimes I actually sort of dived out the game just to have a bit of a rest. I was annoyed at times. So really, would you prefer people like me who can't put tons of hours into the game? Maybe you're a low spender or a free to play. Maybe you're considered deadweight. Would you prefer those people to support you like this or not take part in a KVK? I know what I would prefer, but it's up to you guys to make that decision, I guess. Maybe it's worth thinking twice before calling someone selfish when they're actually trying to support your kingdom and getting kills, rather than doing absolutely nothing and then call them deadweight. Have a think about that. Now, getting back onto the testing, here behind we actually have Guard Yamada and Margaret switched over. So Guard Yamada's got absolutely no equipment on, and this is just to purely, again, make it weaker, supply debuffs, and check out the results. So Guard Yamada hasn't even got the dagger on in this scenario, but the result has actually taken a bit of a turn, and I think this is mainly down to Shelby took a bit longer to select a target. Again, different results each time. Maybe rings and horns popping off more than they did before, but this is actually completely taken a turn and Shelby's actually lost this battle. So I don't really need to go through the results of this one because it clearly had a massive difference. Whether it was down to siege or not, or whether it was down to the positioning and the actual results. But even with no equipment on, we managed to get a 2-to-1 trade here against meta marches. Another thing I need to mention about this video is I'm actually not selecting the targets. I'm just letting it absolutely auto fire, and hopefully it picks out the best troop. But if I auto target, that could have an effect on the result, obviously. Now, we tried this multiple times. We did other 5v5s without involvement, and of course other 5v5s with me getting involved, but the results were the same. So Misty had less severely wounded troops in his hospital by a decent amount, and Shelby a few times had actually more severely wounded units. In fact, in one of the battles, it was actually even in terms of trades, which is amazing. So now I decided to scale the test down a bit, and I said, right, you can do a 1v1 with your best marches. And we did 2 1v1 duels without me getting involved at all, a bit like before. On the first time, Misty ended up with 30.1k in the hospital and Shelby 24.2k in the hospital. It was quite a decent difference. And the second time, Misty actually won. He ended up with 25.3k in the hospital to Shelby's 27.2k in the hospital, which is quite a decent difference. And this is just what can happen sometimes when there's a few variations, like running rings and horns, and skills have different chances of popping off. But we'll take the average from the 2 results to compare to when I get involved in the battle. So we'll skip a bit out, and as you'll be able to see, Misty did win, and I'll show you the results. It was 25.3k to 27.2k, and that just gives us something to go off, even though this was the better result out of the 2 we'd already had. So next time I threw my march out, I put it out with mainly T1 and a little bit of T4. Again, I just want to add a support. I don't want to get involved in terms of doing too much damage. Just want to see how much this affects the enemy and Misty, my ally. Let's take a look at this battle. I sped this up a little bit just to make it a little bit quicker for the video, and they're engaging. So obviously you'll see my march is getting absolutely destroyed because obviously I'm using T1 and 10k T4, and the result obviously again is Shelby does lose. Obviously the important thing is, I still traded positive even with T1, T4, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is Misty's reports, and here it is, 15.7k to 18.2k, 3k, sorry, and that saved Misty, again, a ton of troops, but he's still getting a good result. He's still getting the win. I know Shelby's actually saved some troops again too. And this was similar to every other result we tested. We tested it again and again and again. And it always saved Misty troops in the hospital. Take what you can from all this testing. Again, it's very, very hard. Let me know in the comment section if you think you can come up with any better testing that I could do to try and prove the fact. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care and bye-bye.